Okay, I'm Zainal Sapari. I'm here at the invitation of Mr. Abdul Hamid. When I decided to come because I was very interested in this idea of intergenerational bond. I'm a father of 6 children. Recently, I just got one granddaughter. But given the context of what is happening in Singapore, I think we need to be very realistic with regards to intergeneration bond. Number one, like for me, if I want to stay with my children, there is that physical constraint. Our houses are actually, these days, are actually quite smaller. It is not practical to support 3 generations of families. Then the second constraint that we face is like what you said, sometimes our children, they want their own privacy. And then the third constraint I think I will be facing, many of my children, by the time they get married, by the time they have their first child, I will be maybe 60, 62 years old. I don't have the energy to look after their children. To tell them to get a maid so that I can look after their children, they themselves might be constrained with in terms of financial consideration. So I would like to ask, in the context of Singapore, the constraints that we are facing, what would be practical tips maybe Mr. Abdul Hamid can share that we can promote these intergeneration bonds even without staying together? And then maybe Associate Professor Dr. Thang, I kind of noticed that you did your study in Japan. In Japan, I assume their houses must be very small as well. Then how do they overcome the constraint of size to actually promote that intergenerational bonds? Then to Ezekiel, as a grandson, what advice would you give to grandparents like me, what to avoid when you are managing your grandchildren? Yeah, that's all.
He can moderate already.
Actually, I think now people are not expected to live together anymore, right? If you look at HDB houses, they are so small. And also, government has a lot more funding now for you to live near to each other. Yeah, so I think it's really more about the art of living close to each other than having to think that you have to live together. So if you're living close to each other, how do you ensure that you do have constant connections? And I think grandparents will also want to think more about how do they should proactively try to connect with the younger generations, because younger generations are so busy with their work nowadays. It's very easy to just go off, for months without seeing each other, even if you just live close by. And we also, I think everyone has an app that has this family, right? That your family will connect together through WhatsApp and so forth. So the kind of connections through digital means, I think it's also very important for family, that you share moments of joy and, asking for help through an app base as well. Yeah, so I do think that we have to think, I think older people cannot expect to live together with their children, which is the reality now in Singapore and in many parts of the world as well. In Japan, it's worse. Japan, you do have a rising, very sharp rise on older people who are living alone, because Japan is so big. Older people, quite often, they may live in the rural areas and not near to their children. And if you go to, I think Singaporeans, almost everybody goes to Japan for holiday for one time or another. If you go to the food courts there, you will be surprised that their tables are just one person, like really just one person eating, that sense of, staying alone. And when I was doing research there, older people living alone say that they don't have people to talk to for weeks, and they come for activities when there is in a community so that they can talk to other people. Yeah, so in comparative, I think Singapore is much better. We still see family going out for meals together, and we still see, a lot of family getting together. If they don't stay together, but sometimes they go for holidays together and so forth. So I think Singapore is actually, we should keep it and try to do better than to think that, it's going to, this whole idea about family, intergenerational family will be less prominent. I think we are living so close. We're such a small country. We live so close to each other. We have better chance to maintain and to promote intergenerational relationships without having to live together.
Can I respond to the questioner? My name is Sharif. I'm a good friend of Nur Hamid. We are peers. Okay, I think religion has got something to do with extended families. Muslims meet at mosque during Thursday night, and we read our prayers at least like once a week or at regular intervals, Friday night, Thursday night. So this is one way by which we bond through religion. Maybe for others who are not Muslims, it's culture. So to say that we don't have family, I don't think it is quite correct. It may not be brotherly or sisterly bonds, but we are connected by culture, by religion, and by practice. We as Muslims, we meet maybe on Thursday night or Friday night, and we read our prayers. So we may not be brothers, we may not be sisters. When we read our prayers, and usually after the prayer session, we have meals. So in this way, we are connected by familial cultural ties. And I think that is just as important as brotherly love and sisterly love. Because, in fact, we as Muslims, we believe that all Muslims are brothers. So that's one of question to answer that question. What is a family? So that is a family. It's cultural bonding. It is religious bonding, and it is practice. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I think it is true that religion does play an important role in, Singapore is a multi-religious society. 80% of people believe in, a divine being or a divine code, and it does play a huge role in family life. Hamid, do you have anything to share, or Ezekiel?
Not much to share, but just to add, I agree with Zana Sapari's observation. Due to the physical constraint, it may not be practical to have every generation, grandfather, father, mothers, all staying under one roof. It's to be very congested. But I was mentioning what makes the intergenerational bonds thick or effective is not staying under one roof. It's all have to do with effective communication. And on these days, we have the technology to rely upon. We have the mobile phone, call up every week. We have the Zoom, we have your laptop, and so forth. So there are means where you can continue to communicate, although you may not be able to see face-to-face. Face-to-face is ideal. And I still feel that you must find opportunity for face-to-face meeting. If the house is too small to accommodate everybody, find time to go out together on a tour, a local tour. Go out together to have a meal or dinner. Don't wait for festive season, Chinese New Year, reunion, and so forth. Do it on a frequently basis. Go out to see a movie together. Go out to have a picnic. There are avenues. The question is that you just have to get things organized. Don't always think that you have to be staying under one roof in order to have these international bonds in place.
I think as a grandchild, I don't think I'm qualified to give advice to grandparents. But if I could say one thing, it would be about not to compare relationships in numerical sense. And I think this goes for both grandparents and grandchildren. So I think it's important to recognize that every relationship is different, and grandparents probably shouldn't compare like, oh, I spend 4 hours with my grandkid this week, you spend 3 hours with your grandkid this week. I don't think it should be a statistical comparison. And I think, as they said, communication is really important, and it's really about recognizing that every relationship is different, and then this will go for grandkids too, with regards to their grandparents as well.